Her journey to healing, reaching women with a desperate cry, is an 8-week Zoom seminar in which Kamala and Winston help women to start living their best life by rediscovering the image of God in their life. Kamala, a licensed marriage and family therapist, joins her husband of 16 years, an ordained pastor, to marry the clinical and the spiritual. You will begin living your best life filled with love, joy, and peace. Register at kwministries.net for this life-changing seminar.
So anxious resistant. So remember there were 4 categories, right? Mm-hmm. So anxious resistant kids were on the opposite end of the spectrum. They didn't have a lot of self-confidence. They really clung to their caregivers, whether it's parents. When I say caregivers, I mean parents, grandparents, just old people in their lives who were, really part of that initial bonding experience. For these kids, they tended to have really exaggerated emotional reactions to stuff, but they also kept the distance from their peers. How did this translate into adulthood? That translated into anxious, preoccupied adults. Mm-hmm. And so they kind of formed less secure bonds with partners and feel really desperate for love and affection.
God is patient. God is kind. God is long-suffering. God never fails. God always hopes. God always trusts. God always perseveres. God doesn't envy. God doesn't boast. God doesn't seek his own, but is always seeking what's best for you. God rejoices in the truth.
That's right.
God doesn't define love. God demonstrates love.
There's a commercial that used to say, "Don't leave home without it." I think it was MasterCard. And at the end, they would say, "You couldn't put a price on it. A price could not be put on what you and your wife did for me this week." And I'm just praying that your ministry will continue to be the blessing to others as it has been to me this week. Just the opening of the eyes, just seeing God's word with a whole different set of lenses, just understanding what is required of us, and laying aside the misnomers, the erroneous teachings, the errors, and just accepting who I am in Christ. And no one else could tell me who I am but the Word.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you for hanging out with us all week long.
Thank you for being there with us.
And welcome to Monday Nights Live with KW. Thought we weren't going to come off for a second there.
We had a little moment there.
How are you?
What we're laughing at our end, guys, before I say how I'm doing, is that we couldn't quite get our finger off the mute button. Technology works only as well as the people who are working it.
Talk for yourself. I'm good.
The one with the finger on the mute button. So, I'm doing well tonight. How about you?
I'm doing well. I'm actually really excited. I have what our guest tonight is actually someone that I look up to a lot. He doesn't even know how I really feel about him and his ministry. And so I'm really excited about tonight. I was looking at your shirt as we were, goofing off before, and I was just thinking of the meaning of our logo, the teardrop, and the idea of reaching people with a desperate cry. That's what we tried. That's what we're trying to do with the people that we have in counseling session. I think you had 2 sessions before you came on here tonight. With the seminars we do, with the books that we write, with every single thing that we do, our sole objective is to reach people who have desperate cries, is to reach people who find themselves in situations where life is just not as fun as it could be. And I think tonight, I'm really excited about tonight, because there are many people who has different journeys. We all have different journeys, rather. And for some of us, we're in careers that we don't like, or we're in situations that we don't feel like we can do anything about, or we're not living up to our very best potential. Let me ask you, Kamala, real quick. How did you get into the field you're in now? Share the story. And I think that would be a good.
Because one of the things that I've started doing in my day job, I orient new staff. And so one of the things I always ask is, what's your why? Why are you here? What motivated you to choose this place at this time, this career field? And before I have them talk about their why, I'll tell them a little bit about mine. And so my why, how I got into my career, to answer your question, as a marriage and family therapist, was really kind of interesting and convoluted. I was in a whole different field, forensics, which sounds much more glamorous than it is, or than it was at the time. No knocking anybody who was in forensics.
You didn't do the SI, what is it?
The CSI,
the CSI stuff
didn't quite look the way it looked on TV. I'm sure there are other people who are doing it, but I was in that field for a little while. Made a transition. We moved to the States, and it was time to kind of rethink career options. But
we tried staying in forensics for a while.
Not that it was a love or a passion, but that's what I knew. And then we made a move. I'm cutting the story short, guys. We made a move to Georgia. I met some people who were in this field called marriage and family therapy. I remember it. Melodor and Hinds. They had gone through a program at Valdosta State University. And I looked over the program, and I looked at social work, and I looked at some other areas, and I was like, these courses look good. I'll go with that. But that's not the only why. Because as a child growing up, adolescent, young adult, I'd always had the experience of people just coming and telling me stuff about their lives. I don't know if maybe I just seemed confidential and comfortable and all that good stuff. However, I didn't know what I was talking about. So when I found that field, it really just clicked, but it also clicked on several other levels. It clicked on the level of, marriage and navigating our own marriage and trying to figure out, well, how can I show up as a better version of me in this partnership? That was part of it. And then there was also the spiritual component of it, where it also felt like, I think this is what God is actually calling me to. And I hold to that, because I don't think that he would give me what I feel like has been the success that I've experienced so far. And I don't mean that in terms of monetary success. I mean that just
you've had major success. I'll never forget that you've had me. Let's not project. I will never forget the day when you came home and you said, I know what God wants me to do.
Yeah.
I will never forget that day.
Yeah.
And that's what our guest tonight is going to kind of lead us into, is that some of us have ideas that we don't really know what to do with them. They just keep us up at nights and they run around in our minds, and we don't really know what to do with them. He's going to tell us how our ideas can become life. I sat in one of his seminars and it was amazing. I don't know if he'll talk some about the oil tonight, and I don't know exactly where how our conversation will go, but I believe that it's going to change somebody's life. And let's bring him in and then let's say what we're going to do first. Well, let's wait for a few more people to come on before we say exactly what the gift is and how it works. So let's bring him in. Our guest tonight is Pastor Kymone Hinds, or should I say Coach to Life, director, owner, founder, Kymone Hinds, one of the kindest, nicest people. There's this movie, Kingdom of Heaven, where there's this fight between the two opposing sides, the leaders of two opposing sides, and at the end of the fight, one of the gentlemen said to the other one, wherever you go, your name will precede you. And that was my meeting of Pastor Hinds of Kymone. I knew him way before I ever met him, because people talked so nicely about him, and just his unique way to ministry. So I'm excited to have him here. Let's bring him in. We're really, 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 really Excited. Hey, Kymone, how are you doing?
Hey family, how y'all doing? Kamala, and Winston, how y'all doing this evening?
We're doing well. We're doing well, and we're really excited to have you on. Thank you so much for agreeing to talk to us.
Thank you for having me. I have been watching the work that you've been doing with your ministry and how you've been impacting people. And Winston, I remember that workshop. I remember not just the workshop, I remember your feedback from the workshop. And I want to let you know that workshop, the stuff that I shared there, God has never let me let it go. And I'm going to be doing some more stuff with that this year. So I'm excited to be on with you guys.
Awesome. How I heard about you. I heard about what you, and I heard about you before this, but the thing that sticks with me is your ministry in Tennessee and your ability to transform YMCAs into house of worship, but not for the sake of just house of worship. Your ministry to transform lives, so that YMCAs notice your transformation of lives and say, listen, we want this as a part of our stuff.
Yeah.
Can we start there? Do you mind?
Sure, you can start there. Listen, I like the free-flowing conversation. So, God gave us a vision about being a part of a contemporary community-based church plant years ago. And around 2012 is when we had the opportunity to move to Memphis. That was definitely God's leading, because we were at that point comfortable in Kansas City, but God just made it clear that the only thing that was keeping me from saying yes was fear. And, just to start off, there are a lot of people on here that there may be something God is calling you to do. And when you look at the reasons why you say no, a lot of those are just fear-based reasons. And so we made the move. Yeah, a lot of those come down to fear. And so we made the move, and we moved to Memphis, and God led it so that we actually started having our worship services inside of a community center, because you both are a pastoral couple. You understand now people aren't coming to church, right? And the most that we're doing now is getting people from other churches to come to our church. When I say that, it might be within our denomination, within Christianity. We're just really moving people around, but people outside of who are not attending, they're not looking, they're not seeking it. Church doesn't have the home field advantage it used to. So we said, instead of us trying to bring people to church, let's bring church to people. So let's bring church along the path of life. And so we would meet in a local gym. There would be activities going on in there. Sometimes we'd have people who would kind of come in, take a look, and they would see. And then we had some kids from the community started coming. And then we had to move from that gym to a local YMCA. And that was another good experience, right? Because the Y is open. People are walking around the track over our head. People are exercising and coming in. And it started to become something where, so there's one thing about getting people to gather and sit in worship, but it's another when you start becoming partners, when the YMCA is saying, let's partner on things together. Let's host an event together. And I think that's what, to me, was the most exciting part. I can't tell you we had hundreds of people attending, but I can tell you there were people whose lives we impacted who never would have stepped foot inside of one of our buildings. And so that was the blessing of being a part of that ministry.
Where did that come from? And the word fear was talked about earlier. So I'm telling you now, Kamala is going to jump on that. But where did that come from within you to get that vision of taking church to people? Where did that come from?
So that's a good question. I think that definitely has to be a God planted that vision within me, because I grew up in church. I'm not someone who has the experience of being away from church, and so I understand that. But I think my heart is for people who I'm friends with, otherwise, who are not looking for anyone's church. And I also think the connection with this, the members who are part of that core of that church called Journey, they were also people who were saying, we want to do something different. We don't just want to base this on hype music or good worship. We actually want to do something different. And so, you know, our services would take place in the afternoon. We would do things that would serve the community, sometimes in the mornings. But I think it was just a matter of how can we if we had to start over with the template of just the Bible and our current context, what will we design a church to look like? And that's kind of what the answers, because you know, a lot of times we say, let's do something new. The first thing we do is we say, what about what we just did last year? And that's really not new. So
yeah. You know, I really like what you said just now about let's take what we know from the Bible and put it in our context, because it makes me think about what you said earlier with how decisions that we make about whether we're going to do or not do things are sometimes fear-based. And I wonder if some of that fear-basedness, if you will, me coin a word, comes from this idea that I can't do something that is outside of the conventions that I'm used to because it doesn't feel safe. And so when I heard you talking about fear, I was immediately curious about your personal experience with fear as it related to doing this project, going into outside of the norm, if you will, and doing something like this, because I think this translates into how you're also helping other people to change their norms. Tell us about that.
It's a good question. So I want to just be honest with everyone watching this and listening to this, that I, just like you struggle with fear, I struggle with fear. The same fear of what if what I'm trying that's new doesn't work? You know, people will laugh, people will talk about you. What if, you know, this new step I'm taking here, it doesn't work out and I have to go back to the old, like, you know, I think we all battle those, what people will say about us, right? If it doesn't work out. And so I think we have to first of all acknowledge that is a reality, right? So if you are facing fear right now and you're watching this, it does not mean something is wrong with you, and it doesn't mean that you can't do something because you have fear. Like, I think we look at people who do something, we think they wake up every day, they have 100% courage, 0% fear. That's why they do it. No, the people that you see doing a lot of the things that you admire are doing it despite the fear that they feel. So just like, let's acknowledge, if you feel fear, I feel it too. But I'm going to tell you something. For a lot of the things, and again, I'm not batting 1,000. So there are probably things I should have done that I didn't do because of fear. But one of the things that I've learned, and I want to encourage you, is there is regret, right? Both of you probably understand that weight of regret. I should have done this, but fear stopped me from it. And I am trying to, in my mind, choose, okay, I'm going to choose the prospect of failure over the weight of regret, because regret is a heavy weight. I should have started that business, right? I should have stepped out and done that ministry. I should have made that move with my career. And here I am 5 years later, 10 years later, with that regret of what if I did? And if I did and it didn't work out, at least I would have known I tried.
We have a hashtag. So I want me to say it again. I would rather the prospect of failure versus the say it again.
The prospect of failure, right? Choose that rather than the weight of regret.
The weight of regret.
Okay, hashtag Auntie, the prospect of failure, choosing the prospect of failure versus the weight of regret. I think that is so powerful.
You know, how can it not be, right? Because I don't think there's a single person who can't not relate to this idea of regret and how deeply crippling that feels, especially because it's happening in the future. The opportunity is already gone. And now I'm looking back and
I'm grieving over something that could have been. That's powerful.
Yeah.
All right. Now that we have a few people on, let's tell you we have, I'm excited about our guest tonight. Pastor Kymone Hinds, the visionary extraordinaire, is here with us tonight. Here is how you can win. Well, here's what we're giving out tonight. On February, later on this month, Pastor Hinds is, go ahead, sir.
February 27th.
On February 27th, Pastor Hinds is having a coaching class. If I mess it up,
you got it. You got it.
Your offer challenge.
Where's it? Okay, he's having
so it's the Create Your Offer Challenge.
There you go.
3 days of coaching and training to help people create an offer from their expertise to sell. You cannot afford to miss this. We are actually going to be giving away one of those sessions.
Awesome.
Yes.
Now then, how you get to access the free version from us is if you comment with us tonight. Ask questions. Jump in there. Don't hesitate to comment on something that you've heard. Share with us.
Engage our guests.
Now, we also want to encourage you guys, if you don't win, to still check it out.
Okay, and we'll talk more about it before we end. I just wanted to, I saw some more folk on that, so I wanted to say that's how, so people can start engaging with us. All right, so Pastor Hinds, let's transition now into, you're in Tennessee, you're doing this amazing ministry. You feel called to bring your own ideas to life.
Yeah.
Can you talk to us a little bit about that journey?
This is every time I think about this, it is more scary to think in hindsight, what was I doing? So what did we do? Now, just for context sake, my wife and I have 3 teenagers. I can say that for at least one more month because my son is going to be 20 on March the 3rd. So I can't say that much longer. But just understanding in the work I do, once your kids get ready for college, if you stay doing the job that I was doing, you get some assistance with their college education, right? So my son was in high school, my daughter, the older one, was getting ready to go into high school, and then I would have a child going into middle school. And then in the middle of that, I took a couple weeks vacation just to really, one, rest, because we were leading 2 congregations. One would meet in the morning and the other would meet in the afternoon, right? So you all are a pastoral couple. You understand, like, we were tired. And so we took 2 weeks staycation. And the first week, I think I just slept. But the second week, it was a time of just saying, God, what do you want us to do? And it was clear that at that point, God wanted us to transition from pastoring, but it was just the idea of what do we do next? Because I think for people, no matter what career, whenever you think about the prospect of leaving one career, you always have to ask, what do I do next? I was listening to your story backstage, Kamala. Sorry, if I mispronounce your name, please forgive me. Kamala.
The first way you did it is the correct way. It's Kamala.
No. How do you pronounce your name again? Kamala. Okay.
Kamala.
I think I'm mixing it up with the VP, right? I think that's what's happening. Right. So I was listening to you. I was listening to you share how you transitioned from one career to the next. And whenever you think about transitioning, it's always okay, I want to leave, but what do I do next? And so we were in that limbo stage. And what was happening while I was pastoring is God had brought some young adult members to my church who were starting businesses. And so, as a pastor, you're helping people with whatever they're doing in life. And so I was giving them some advice, do this, do that, and started realizing I actually like this business kind of coaching, because here's the truth. Even from a teenager, I was always starting something, right? It's not a bad thing. I was always starting something. I would start a group, start a church, start a choir, I was always starting something. So I understood, how do you get something off the ground? So I was helping them with that. And I said, what if I took the skills, the knowledge, and the expertise here and move it now into the marketplace, into business? Maybe there's some people I could impact. And so with that that's all I had. I said, okay, we're going to launch out. And so we took a year to really process the whole thing. And then we moved to Florida and started this business called Ideas to Life, where I'm coaching individuals to start their business. But before I made the move, Winston, that's when you and we were at a meeting that I did the presentation. And that presentation has become almost like the framework for the work that I do with people.
Now, there's somebody listening, or somebody who will listen 6 months from now, and they're going, yeah, I hear you, but in this transition phase, what do I do? I'm moving from one area of my life that I know really well to this area of my life that I maybe know some things about, but I'm not really sure. What am I doing in that transition phase? What do you want to say to that person?
So I think for anyone in the transition phase, there are two things you want to do. Is you want to spend time like listening and like reflecting, right? Because so many times we move so quickly in life, we don't even stop to say, ask ourselves questions. What am I good at? Right? What do I enjoy doing? I know I know if I ask many people, what don't you like about the work you do? We got a long list. I don't like meetings. I don't like minutes. I don't like this. But what do you like about any work that you've done? So spend some time meditating, like thinking over what you've done, what people like, people give you feedback on that they tell you you're good at. Spend some time thinking, right? So I'm transitioning. Spend some time thinking. But the other thing I would encourage them to do is to take action. Now, if I'm having any internet issues, please let me know. You hear me okay?
Yeah, you're fine. You're fine.
You're good.
Okay. Yeah, the other thing I would say is start doing something small, right? So if there is something that you are interested in doing, you may want to become, I don't know, a speaker. What I would encourage you to do is don't start by saying, let me leave my job and go become a speaker. Start by saying, let me give one speech. Let me give one speech, right? So because here's what I found. Clarity comes at the intersection between meditation and movement. Thinking about what's happening and doing something. Do something. So I want to, maybe you say, you know what? I want to start hosting events. I want to have an event business. I want to bring people together. Well, you don't have to shut down what you're doing. You could say, I'm going to host one event, a small event, 20 people, just to see, one, people's reaction, and two, I want to see how I feel about doing it, right? Now, I'm going to use you two as an example. You guys, what people are seeing today isn't where you started, right? You started with one devotional. I remember when y'all wrote, I think it was the first book that y'all wrote, right? You started with one thing, right? We're going to write this one thing, and we're going to see what the feedback is from this one thing, what people are saying to us, and then we'll do the next thing. And so for anyone who's in a transition period, don't feel like you have to make a leap. What I'm telling you, you got to build a bridge. And so think and move, and there's an intersection between those two where clarity will come.
Yeah. I really, really like that. So I'm all the way in
He's giving us all this stuff for free, you all. This is his business he's giving us.
I'm deep in therapy mode. I want you to know. Because I'm thinking about how often I'm thinking about how often we will talk with people about this idea of recognizing small successes along the way and how that builds your own confidence in what you're doing. And what I hear you saying between that meditative period and that action period is, one, contemplating and knowing for myself, is this a good fit? And then allowing myself to see myself accomplish things that get me towards that ultimate goal. And it makes perfect sense, because that's how I discover whether or not this thing that's a dream in my head truly fits my purpose and translates into reality, translates into practicality, right? I really love how you've talked about that.
Let me go back to asking you a question. Dr. Hayes says, wow, interesting phenomena. Let me go back to, let me ask, and I know Dr. Hayes has a project she's working on, so this is going to be really good stuff for her. Pastor, let me ask you a question. In this process, how do I manage this thing that we talked about earlier, fear? In this transition, in this trying, in this being concerned about my failure, how do I manage that? How do I manage that?
Yeah, so I think fear operates best in murkiness, right? So I want to build a house. That's a big undertaking, right? So I'm fearful. So I'll just stop. Okay, so let's break that down. What does it take for me to build a house? Okay, maybe I'm not going to build it myself. I need to hire a contractor. It's one step. Okay, then I need to find financing. That's step number 2. Then I need to find a location. That's step number 3. And so what am I going to focus on today? Today, I'm going to focus on, I'm going to get a contractor, right? Now, am I still afraid? Sure. But what I've done is I've broken down this thing that was huge into one step that I can take today. So do I have enough courage to take that one step? I may not have the courage for the house, but today I have the courage for the contractor. Tomorrow I may have the courage for the loan. The next day I have the courage for. And so what I'm saying to all of us is, in everything that you see that you think, this is huge, spend a little bit of time. What's the next step I can take that I have enough courage to take? And once I take that, what starts happening, right? You start building up some wins. You start building up some momentum. You start seeing, okay, things are coming together, stuff is happening, and I'm starting to gain some wind, something is pushing me now. So the fear is still there, but momentum is helping me.
So I don't allow my stuff to be so murky that it's unmanageable, and it's just always just so big.
Yeah, think big but act small. Think big but act small.
Oh, I like that. Hashtag think big, act small. I love it.
So I want to throw, it's not a wrench, but I want to throw an idea in here. And tell me what you think. Tell us what you
Walk
think.
us through it.
Expectations.
Yes.
We have ideas about things that we want to accomplish. There's the fear. We're working through it, but we hit roadblocks.
Yes.
And we don't want to hit roadblocks, because roadblocks tell us that what I'm doing is wrong. Shouldn't have done this in the first place. What was I thinking? Why did I let myself go down this road? Talk to us about this idea of expectations. If I go in this direction, everything should work out fine.
Yeah. I think you just said it, right? Our expectations really determine our experience, right? So if you showed up and you expected 50 people to be at your party and 10 showed up, you would think no one came. But if you showed up and you expected 5 and 10 came, you would think, wow, a whole lot of people are here. Just expectations. I think for anyone looking to do anything that's worth doing, and maybe this is something we have to do a better job of, where we encourage and inspire people, we need to tell them there are going to be obstacles. There are going to be challenges, right? No matter the best laid plans are going to have things that don't work out well. But even those obstacles, if we are determined enough, those obstacles, those bumps, those road bumps can actually be our greatest advantage, right? Think about some of the people that you look at and you admire. You don't admire them because they didn't go through any obstacles. You admire them because of how they handle the obstacles. And I think for people, especially one of the things I've been learning with the people that I work with, what usually you think is your greatest negative is your greatest positive, right? So think about this. We'll say, okay, I'll give you this example for myself. And it's not obstacles, not a road bump, but it's a negative. And I think you could understand this. I'm out here coaching people in business. And in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm only a pastor. I'm only a pastor, right? Like, I don't have an MBA. Now, my first degree is business, but I don't have an MBA. I didn't build a huge business before, and I'm coaching people in business. I'm only a pastor. And then I thought about it. The people who I'm attracting in my work are people who have ministry, meaning like they want to serve others and build a business. And so what I've looked at as my negative that would disqualify me is actually the thing that they're looking at saying, that's why we're right? So the person who says, I'm trying to do a health program, but my challenge is I'm having a hard time controlling my whatever, my health or whatever. Other people look at you and say, well, if you are having this challenge, you can understand me because I don't think 50 pounds, right? I know what it's like to struggle with this. So I need someone like you. And I think that's it. Whenever you reach an obstacle, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I grow from this to help me to move forward?
Yeah. Love that. Know when to hold them, know when to fold them. How do I know the difference between an obstacle and this is not what I should be doing?
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, this is a very good question. So the short answer is I don't know there's no line, right? There's no definite answer, but I will tell us this for a lot of us. Most times we quit too early. So when we talk about this isn't going to work out, most times we've quit too early. We quit because we thought we would get out here, start a business, put out something, and 500 people would just buy the next day. And so because they didn't on day two, we quit. But I would encourage people, if you're starting something new, at least give yourself I'm going to do it for this long of a period. So I'm starting my podcast, right? Monday nights with KW. We're going to do this for at least, you set the time. We're going to do it for at least 6 months. We're going to do it for at least a year before we begin evaluating it. Because for at least 6 months to a year, you don't even know what your thing is all about. You're figuring it out. You're learning your voice. You're learning your customers. You're maybe making a baseline to say, okay, when we did this, the numbers went up. When we did this, the numbers went down. So let's do more of this. But if we said in a week, right, just being facetious, all right, that's it. Then we don't even know if we've gone through the down to go back up. And so for us, I would say for anyone, before you think about quitting, set yourself a period of time. I'm going to do it for this length of time. I may make adjustments in the middle, but I'm gonna keep with this for at least a period of time before I come around to even start talking about quitting or changing or leaving this alone.
Hashtag, we usually quit too soon. We usually quit too soon. No, I think that's a really powerful thing for not just taking on projects, but just life. Yeah. We usually give up on our marriages too soon. We usually give up on life too soon. People that have committed suicide if they could have just made it through that night.
Wow.
I remember having, like, this is off subject, but I remember having somebody call me 2:00 in the morning, and we just, we went through that night. And the next day, thank you so much for getting me through that night.
Wow. Wow.
We usually quit too soon. Thank you so much for putting that word into our spirit. Now, let me ask you this question. How do we pick up the pieces? So we come to an but let me back up. Before I say that, you talked about this idea of expectations. You talked about this idea of having this thing in your mind. I remember when we wrote our first book for our first devotional, what you just said, I was like, this is going to change the world. And you don't know me well, but I have this grand, these are grandeur. This is going to change the world. And, after all my friends bought, that was it. Until I learned, hey, that's not how you sell books. There's a method to this. How do I pick up the pieces? One example is we made T-shirts. Journey to Healing T-shirts, and we didn't. When they sent us the proof, I just assumed that it was right. I just assumed. I looked at it, and everything looked right. And it wasn't until we got the T-shirt, sold one, sent it off in the mail, that we realized that there was one word. We spent over one letter. We spent over $1,000 on this. There was one letter off. We couldn't sell all of these T-shirts. How do we pick up the pieces?
Yeah. So let me ask you, what did you do next when that happened?
I haven't made any more T-shirts yet.
You said what?
I haven't made any more T-shirts yet.
But here's my question. If you were to make more T-shirts, what would you do differently?
I would order less. That's number one. And then number two, I would make sure I get somebody else to vet it with me. As a matter of fact, we just ordered for church plaques. And the person that's ordering it, I said to them, make sure you get another person to look at it based on my experience.
Yeah. So I think for what you just said, it's a good example, right? So there's this concept I learned. It says every challenge can be turned into a gift or an opportunity. Every challenge can be turned into a gift or an opportunity. So one of the gifts that you just had in that experience was the gift of knowledge. You learned something. When I do this again, this is what I'm going to do. So for all of us, if something happens, we ask ourselves, what can I learn from this failure, this brokenness, so that in the future, when I look back on it, I would have been thankful that I made this mistake now. Because there'll come a time when you may spend $10,000 on T-shirts, right? Mm-hmm. And when you do that, you will know, okay, or whatever, however you do it, you'll know, I'm going to vet it. I'm going to do this. I'm going to start smaller. And then, but the point is, this $1,000 mistake is going to stop you from a $10,000 mistake. And so for us, it's one, I think what we usually do when something bad happens, we beat ourselves up. And I was asking people the other day, I said, when have you ever benefited from beating yourself up? I'm so stupid. I ain't gonna never do this. It's my fault. I'll never. No, that's not it. It's like, what lesson can I learn right here, right now? Right? What lesson can I learn so that in the future, because life is going to keep going on, I'm going to get another opportunity. We may put out another product, but anything else I do, I'm going to bring the knowledge from this so that in the future, I'm better for it. And I'm thankful. People, you look back on that mistake and said, I'm so glad we made that mistake because it set us up for this success.
You know, what I hear you saying in that, and it's so crucial for anybody listening to really hear what you just said, which is, it's typically not the failure that gets in the way of our growth. It's our idea about the failure
that's right
gets in our way. Right? Because
you're right.
What you said was, you said it. Because what you said was, so here we have what we see as a missed opportunity. Man, one letter off in the T-shirts. I'm never making a T-shirt again. I got in my own way. The t-shirts didn't get in my way. The t-shirts represented an opportunity to learn something, to go, oh, okay, I need to vet this, have somebody else look at it, maybe order less. And just as you said, the $1,000 mistake today saves you from the $10,000 mistake down the road. And so we really have to recognize the difference between how am I thinking about this project, this business, this thing that I want to do, and the seemingly obstacles that come in my way.
Yeah.
Am I letting my own thoughts get in the way? Am I letting the opportunities for learning something?
Kymone, you said beating up on yourself does not help.
Right.
Could you say some more about the negative effects of beating up on yourself? Could you talk to somebody right now who is on or who will watch later who has tried something and it didn't work exactly how they thought it would, and they've just downed themselves? They've believed that lie, you'll never be anything. They quit too soon. They believe the lie that you since that didn't work out well. Could you talk to that person?
Yeah. There is the more and more people I get a chance to work with, the more and more people I have a chance to talk to, I just recognize that all of us have so much potential, so much brilliance inside of us that we discount. When we look at ourselves, we think to ourselves, oh, I can only do this. All I can do is this. I don't have much. But I just want to tell somebody, first of all, you have more power than you realize. You have more brilliance than you realize. You have more potential than you realize. And the thing that comes easy to you and natural to you, there is someone right now who is asking God and asking Google for that help. There's something someone right now is saying, how can I do this? And for you, it's easy. Now, what happens for all of us, we encounter challenges. We're not perfect and we make mistakes. And what starts happening is we start getting in our own head, and we have an audience inside of our own head where we tell ourselves, something's wrong with you, and we pick apart our own selves. And we say, if I were more like this person and that person, whatever, and we look at all of our supposed faults, and that becomes our reason for saying, that's why I can't do anything. And I just want to tell you, there is more power and potential in you than there are problems and faults. And if you focus on whatever you focus on is going to grow. Whatever you focus on is going to grow. So if you focus on the mistakes that you might have made in the past, it's going to magnify. But if you focus on what am I doing? What can I do? You will start recognizing more and more how amazing that thing is. And here's the last thing I'll say on that. If all you do is sit with yourself looking at your mistakes, you can't help anyone. But when you step out and you help someone with what you have, that's when you'll figure out the power of what you have. I listened to the testimonial of the lady who shared that she went through your program and she found her purpose and understood what God wanted for her. And I just believe that when you heard what she said, then you became more aware that what we have that we're sharing here is powerful. And it's only because you stepped out and allowed someone else to experience that you recognize, wait a minute, what we have here is amazing. And for someone here, I want to tell you, try it. You help someone. You put what you have out there. And when you do, all that negative stuff you've been talking about yourself, it'll start to fade because you realize somebody needs what I have.
Wow. You have more power. You have more potential. That. Listen, Doc. We do this. Kamal and I do this our own journey, out of our own healing journey. And so we say, we want to share people's stories with people. But I'm telling you right now, Dr. Hay, if you didn't say powerful words, I'm receiving that. Yes. I have more potential. I have more power than I have negative stuff. let me breathe on that for a second. That was good. That was good. I believe, Pastor, the church lends to that negative stuff that's in us. I believe that the church, I'm a wretch. Even I'm a sinner. The church plays a big role in telling us that we're no good. As you coach people and as you talk to people, how do you help them to realize what you said? You have potential, you have power. How do you help them to basically undo what we have done to them as a church?
Yeah. So there is, and this is kind of tying back to what the workshop that you attended, Winston. So there is a story in the Bible that I believe, there's some stories you said, this is where I see myself in scripture. It's 2 Kings chapter 4. There's a widow. The story, just for those, just to give a little context, is a widow who has 2 sons. She's in debt, and she comes to this spiritual leader. His name is Elisha. Now, Elisha is in the Old Testament one of the most prolific figures. Right? He does things in the Old Testament that the only other person in the Bible that does that is Jesus. Like he raises people from the dead and those kind of things. And she comes to him and she says, listen, I have a financial crisis. They're going to take my sons and make them slaves because we're in debt. And what is striking to me is she comes to a spiritual leader and he has miraculous power. And what he does not do is he doesn't raise an offering and say, here, let me give you some money. Or he doesn't just do some miracle without her participation and say, here, go take care of it. But he helps her to start a business, right? He helps her start a business. But here is what's so crucial. He says to her, what do you have? And I think that's what the church needs to say to our members. What do you have? What do you have inside? Because and I'm not just talking about I can sing, I can usher. What is the thing that God has given you that now can be used, not here for a couple hours, one day a week in this building, but can make an impact outside of here? What do you have? And I think for us, we need to recognize that that's one of the callings, I believe, of the church, to empower our members to see value in the things that they even overlook about themselves. Think about the story. When Elisha asked her, what do you have? She says, I have nothing. Right? That she would have stopped there. I have nothing except a little jar of oil. Right? That's really that's how most of us talk about what we have. I'm not anything special. All I have is, right? But think about when people say all I can do is, or all I have is, what they usually say after that is amazingly powerful, right? All I can do is all I can do is counsel people and just encourage them when they're down, right? That's not a big deal. What? How many people need that today, right? All I can do is work with young people and help them, find purpose. That's not a, but what I think we need to do is say, okay, that you have here, how can we now take this, package it, because he tells her, go put it into jars and then go sell it. How can we help them take the oil, the God-given, life-pressed things that they have and move it out into the marketplace?
Yeah. Dr. Hayes making the comment as you're speaking about this, church reflects the positive and eliminate the negative.
Yeah.
So I think we would be remiss if we didn't ask you this question. You spoke about what do you have? And so from that standpoint of relatability. Somebody's listening along and is going, all right, Pastor Kymone, Hinds, sounds good. What have you discovered in your journey that I can relate to? What have you discovered in your journey that says, gosh, this is what I discovered when I took this leap and made this change for myself to do something that was outside of what anyone would have expected me to do? What have been your benefits?
Yeah, this is what I discovered. Y'all ready for this? Somebody needs to write this down, right? Or tweet this or put this in the comments. This is the craziest thing about this. I discovered that God was calling me to help the former version of myself. That's who God had called me to help. So the people that I am most able to help are people who are going through something that I've gone through before. So what that says to you is you have gone through some experience in life. It might have been a really painful experience. Maybe at some point in life, you went through a breakup, you went through some health crises, you went through some time of instability or transition, and you could not find help. And you navigated that, and you went and you allowed, God allows you to get tools and training and whatever. And what now you're able to do is reach back to help someone else. And that's what I want to just say to someone. Just look at how God has led your life. And what you recognize is God has been leading me so that I can go back and help someone who was the former version of myself.
So I see people popping in here. Y'all late? y'all like late? And this man, y'all have to go watch the rebroadcast. This man has given us a whole masterclass for free. Elder Wallace, Elder Hay is asking, Dr. Hay is asking a question here, Pastor. I don't know if you can see this. It says, how do you deal with intimidation from those who are threatened by what you have? I think that's such a good question.
Yeah. So, intimidation, that's a strong word, right? So I think you have to you have to keep taking action, right? So there are some people who you will never convince, no matter how hard you try. And I think sometimes, and there are some people who are waiting on you just to show up and to share, and they'll go, yes, I'm ready. What sometimes the mistake we make is we spend all of our time dealing with the people who will never be convinced, always going to be negative, will always find what's wrong with this, instead of spending any of our energy or most of our energy over here talking to the people who are just waiting for you to show up. And so the best answer I could tell you to deal with the intimidation, give it one listen. You know what? If this person is, if they're not moving, if there's no openness, and you just, turn your attention away. So listen, I tried to explain. I'm going to take the message to people who need what I have. I'm going to take what I have and move on to someone else. Because eventually they run out of steam. They only get steam because you give them attention. But the more you ignore and move on, they're going to find another person who will give them attention.
Pastor, tell us a little bit again about the program that you're doing on February 27th. Our time is gone. The hour just disappeared on us. Tell us a little bit more about the program you're doing on the 27th.
I'm going to tell you, and also I have some even better news. So to create your offer challenge is simply this. And I was watching what you all are doing. You have to find a way to take the knowledge you have and put it into a format that people can pay you for it. You can package it, right? You have to put it in a way you can offer it to people, right? So there are things you both know that people want to know, but they can't access it unless you put it in a form. They can say, okay, here is it. So I think you had a 6-week program. The program that I heard of was 8 weeks. So 8-week program. So you packaged it. This is what is right. So it's an 8-week program. You put it in such a way that people can access it. So what I recognize is for a lot of people, the knowledge we have, we can't put it out for anyone because we haven't created an offer. We haven't said, okay, I'm helping people with marriages. We're doing a 30-day program. We're helping people with health. It's going to be a 12-week program. And this is all the components of it. And this is who it's for. And this is what it's called, right? I'm helping men to win. And we're going to call the program this. And this is the elements of it. And this is who it's for. And so what I'm doing starting at the end of February is what I call the Create Your Offer Challenge. That in 3 days will help you discover your topic, define your audience, and develop your offer, right? So you'll be able to say, this is the thing that I'm supposed to be sharing about and talking about. These are the people I need to be working with. And then this is how I'm going to package it in a way so that they see it and they see the value in it. Now, here's the good news. I've done this challenge before and it was not free, but I'm doing it this time for the general admission is free. The general admission is 3 hours and it's 1 hour a day. You come on, you get training from me. But if you do want the VIP, which is what you all are giving away, I brought that down to $47. You get 3 days. You get an extra hour of coaching each day. You get access to the replays for a limited time, and you get workbooks to go with it. So just encouraging everyone, if you just want to join and just watch, it's free. But if you really want to get some coaching on what you're doing, it's $47, and at least one person tonight will get that as a gift. So there's a website that I'm going to share with you.
Well,
yeah, the website isn't live yet. It should have been live today, but we had a little technical difficulties. But if you don't mind, I'll give it to you and you can share it next week when you do the program so that others can go to the website and join.
yeah. We will do that for sure. Well, we want to announce our winner tonight. This is easy. The rest of you didn't talk. Dr. A, we are giving you a
That 47 value package, VIP.
Yes, the VIP.
package. It's already ready for you. Just simply, I think what go to claim your prize. I don't think that's what she said. Okay, let's go head over to you know what to do. Elder, hey, you've won before. Head over to www.kwministries.cleanyourprize, and instructions are there on exactly what to do. Congratulations, Dr. Hay. I know you're working on a project, so I know you're excited about this. So that's good. Congratulations. Pastor Hinds, I don't know how to say thank you. I don't know how to begin to say thank you except to just say the words and prayerfully. You know that it's coming from my heart. You're one of my heroes. You're somebody that I admire. And it's not only what I have seen you do, it's what I've heard about you. And then having the opportunity to meet you and watch you and follow you. Earlier you said, those people that you look up to, those people you think, you're that person that I look up to. You're that person I think so highly of. And Kamala and I are really grateful that you came on.
Absolutely. And if I could add my 2 cents here at the end. I don't think we have never had this kind of discussion here.
No.
And every time we have a discussion that's new, I think to myself, gosh, there's going to be somebody who watches this and says, this is exactly what I needed. And I know for sure, because we are human beings living in a human being populated earth, that there are many people who are going to watch this and go, this is exactly what I needed.
Yes.
So thank you so much for sharing with us. I know you shared some, but not all, because you got to save some for the classes. I get that. But thank you for sharing.
Kymone, my wife. So our hands are under the table. Kymone, anytime I'm saying something that she thinks we should leave for, she hits me. Or she texts me and she says, you're going to give everything away? You give everything away, whatever you get. She's the business.
Good. Kamala and Winston, thank you. I've watched you. Winston, you told me about your book when you were working on it, and I've seen you all build and build and build. I just want to encourage you. Keep taking your oil and moving it out here into the marketplace, because there are people, I'm telling you, there are people who need the experience, the expertise, the knowledge, just even the personality that y'all bring to the table. So for you and for others watching this, you know, just keep bringing your oil out into the marketplace because somebody needs it.
Thank you all for watching. We're so glad if it's Monday night, 9 o'clock. It's
Monday nights with KW.
peace. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you, Pastor Hinds.